At this point, after this last debate, I would say that Harris's odds of getting the nomination are the highest they've ever been. And she's a terrible campaigner. Think about that. She's literally she's notably bad at her public appearances. And I still think she has the best chance of getting nominated as of today. Now that could change because it's sort of a straight line prediction that says the top three are unelectable. She's terrible, but terrible is still better than unelectable. And her two biggest problems are easily fixed. Somebody just has to tell her to do it. It's somebody she trusts. So number 4 in the polls is Harris. Harris is one of the worst campaigners I think I've ever seen. Now, I remind you that a little over a year ago, I predicted her as the nominee who would go on to lose to Trump. Now, I'm going to stick with my prediction because the prediction always depended on the people polling ahead of her to fail. And we're watching that happening right now. Am I right? We are watching the top three fail. And that was the prediction. The prediction was the ones above her would fail. So I looked at a analysis by Joe Navarro. He's an expert on body language. I recommend him one of his books in my list of persuasion reading. So if you Google the persuasion reading list, you'll see Joe Navarro's book on body language. And he and I, we've had some conversations on Twitter, just brief, I would say disagreements on some body language stuff. So I would say he's definitely the expert compared to me, but I'm not too bad myself. I'm more of an advanced hobbyist on body language, where he's literally, a published expert. Here's what he says about. So he went through the body language of the various groups, and let me give you some of his takeaways. So his main takeaway is that leadership body language would look like this. So your arms would be wide, and it would be slow, smooth motions. You'd say, blah, blah, blah. So those of you who can see me, I know that if you're listening to it, you don't know what I'm doing. But imagining I'm putting my arms out wide and I'm moving them smoothly and not too quickly. So that's what Joe Navarro says is more typically a leadership look. Do you remember Bill Clinton? He used to do the thumb, and he'd be like, duh, duh. The thumb gave him a little space. Basically, the more space you take up, and the less frenetic you look, the less jerky you look, the more leaderly you look. If you look at Trump, he does the hands out like this, and he does some of this. So Trump does take up some space as well. But let's get to Harris. You've already heard my criticism of her physical demeanor on stage, and you heard me say that she looked jumpy, like literally. It seemed like her shoulders were going up and down when she talked, and it made her look unleaderly because she was jerky. I watched it again just this morning, the video clip, and there was something happening that she needs to correct. All right, so here's some free advice for Kamala Harris. If you look at it again, you'll see that she was wearing a sort of a shiny blouse underneath their blazer. The blouse was a little just rumpled by just the position that she was standing, or a jacket or something. The rumples on her blouse were exaggeratedly jumping up and down because she was moving a little. So the little bit she was moving when she was talking, you could see her shoulders sort of going up and down, caused this whole ocean of motion on her blouse. And she's got to change her blouse. I mean, actually get a different material and design of a blouse, because it made her look less leaderly. That's not the sort of thing she could have possibly seen coming. So I wouldn't call it a mistake in the sense that she should have seen it as a problem, because nobody would have seen that as a problem. Now, Joe Navarro made the following comment, that she kept her hands her elbows too close to her body when she spoke. And I had not picked up on that, but he's totally right. The elbows in and the jerky motions are totally non-leadership body language. And you know how I kept telling you that she's terrible at this? When I said she's terrible at it, did you ever hear me say that her words are bad? No. Well, I'm saying she's one of the worst public campaigners I've ever seen, and I've never once said that the words are wrong. The words that she uses are good enough. I mean, you could argue that whether they're the best in the world, they're not, but they're totally good enough. Her ideas are good enough. She's medium enough. She's close enough to the center of the Democrats that she's better than the top three. Now remember, I'm not telling you that you should agree with her words or her thoughts or her policies. I'm saying that as a Democrat running for president, they're pretty solid. They're not great, but they're at least Hillary Clinton solid, wouldn't you say? They're at least as good as Hillary was, which was pretty good. Hillary wasn't a great campaigner, but she had enough to win the popular vote, so that's good enough. But when you combine Harris's laughing at her own jokes, a huge problem. Let's be honest. The laughing at her own jokes will prevent her from being president. It would prevent her from getting the nomination. If she can stop two things, and here's the trick, they're both easy. They're both easy. First thing she has to stop is laughing at her own jokes. She can do that. Now, that might not be easy. She might not be able to do it like in a day, but pretty much people can learn to stop laughing at their own jokes. She just has to know it's a big deal. I don't know that anybody close to her is telling her, Kamala, I don't want to ruin your enthusiasm, but when you laugh at your own jokes, you look like more of a dork than a leader. Stopping laughing at your own jokes is probably one of the easier things you could do if it became a priority. So I think the only thing that keeps her from discontinuing that terrible, public tick is that nobody has told her honestly how it looks. So if there's anybody in her campaign who wants to clip out this part of the video and give it to her, you will increase her effectiveness about 20% in one day. You could show her 30 seconds of what I'm saying, and her effectiveness would go up 20% in one day. Because I guarantee she can do it. She just needs somebody to be honest with her and say, don't do that anymore. Like 0 times. There are no times you should do that. Secondly, the body language. The body language is really easy to change. I know that because over my lifetime of public presentations and speeches and various public appearances, I have learned to intentionally modify my body language until it's my normal body language now. I don't have what I would call normal body language. I have a trained body language, at least for public purposes. So you've noticed even when I talk on interviews, even when I'm here on video, have you noticed how much hand motion I do? That I wasn't born to that, but I also don't think about it when I'm doing it. I'm thinking about it now because I'm talking about it. But normally if you see me waving my hands around, it's not a conscious thought. It's now just what I've trained myself automatically to do. Now the training is easy. You just tell yourself, larger motions are better, smaller motions and tight to your body and jerky motions are bad. You have to practice it, and it might not be the first day that you can do it, but by the third day you can. It's not that hard. It's really not hard to simply open up. You open up your chest, you put on a more serious demeanor, you learn to get your motions right. And I would say that Kamala Harris, if she corrected 2 things, number 1, her laughing at her own jokes, and maybe not even try so hard to tell jokes. I would love to see her same witticisms. I haven't seen a list of them, but I would love to see her same level of witticisms delivered with a wry smile, understanding that it's the audience who should be laughing, not her, just to see if it works. Because I don't know if she can deliver the joke. And if she can't deliver, she should just avoid it. All right. So at this point, after this last debate, I would say that Harris's odds of getting the nomination are the highest they've ever been. And she's a terrible campaigner. Think about that. She's literally, she's notably bad at her public appearances. And I still think she has the best chance of getting nominated as of today. Now, that could change because it's sort of a straight line prediction that says the top three are unelectable. She's terrible, but terrible is still better than unelectable. And her two biggest problems are easily fixed. Somebody just has to tell her to do it. Somebody she trusts.